Hi everyone. I've had a number of people ask me about how we are doing our live streaming, what software we were using, what hardware we're using, and I thought the easiest thing for me to do is just do a very quick little run through of the equipment that we're using and why we decided that we were going to do that. So first of all, when we decided, like a lot of churches, that we needed to go online, what we didn't want to do was we didn't want to spend a lot of money, and so that meant that we, uh, we decided that we were just going to try to utilize what we already had. And one thing that we had a lot of were Apple devices, iPhones and iPads and Mac Minis, which our church was already using for Pro Presenter, and also for as our mixing console. We have a Behringer XR18 mixer that we control from one of our Mac Minis. And then also we've got a MacBook Pro laptop, which I use for writing sermons and doing all my other stuff. So we wanted to be able to utilize what we already had. So what I want to do is I'll give you a quick overview with the video of what we're using, and then I'll go into a few more little specifics about things as well. So let me turn this camera around. So just as a bit of an overview, we've got a wide screen here which we run. It's running from one of the Mac Minis, and we run the Pro Presenter on one side, and on the other side there you can see that we've got the keynote that I used last Sunday, and underneath a little thing called Switcher. Oh, I've forgotten exactly what it's called, but it's one of the Switcher little apps which allows us to display one of the screens on our Switcher console. Down here on one of the iPads is our Switcher console, and that's kind of like the main control hub for everything. We've got an iPhone there which is pointed towards where normally I give the message from, or I have been giving the message from the last couple of weeks. And then over here, running on a Surface Pro that we had, we've got our mixing console which our Behringer XR18 runs from. Now I'm just going to nick around to the other side to give you a quick look at that. So down here we have our little Behringer XR18 mixer. The wireless mics on the top we're not using. And in essence, basically what we do is we've got a couple of inputs here that are coming from that Mac Mini. An input here, input here which is coming from our shotgun mic, and that's pretty much all I'm using at the moment. I had these other ones set up for when we did a bit of live worship here last weekend, but with the new restrictions we won't be using that. So just 3 inputs there and a headphones out so that I can just keep an eye on what's going on with the mix. Our Mac Minis are sitting over here, so there's a couple of them in the rack there. We're only using one of them at the moment. If I go back up this way, you've got an idea here. I'm just moving a light around as I do this. That's where everything is sitting at the moment. Using a shotgun mic here, just because it gives us a little bit better audio quality than if we were just using straight through the iPhone microphone. Now when it comes to Switcher Studio, this is the main control software we use for broadcasting. And in essence what you can see here is this orange one here is running the slides which are up here. If I just move up to there, up here on our Mac. So that's just an announcement loop along the top. You can see over here is the one that it's scrolling through, and down there you can see it here. Now what I've done is on this lot here I've chosen sources on my network. So I've got a built-in camera on this iPad which we're not using, but then also I've got the secondary display, so that's our audience display, what would normally be shown on our projector. So that now is coming into here, and that's what that one there, or you can see it here, is. And then, silly me, where it says the Father Reverend Jamil Douglas, that's my son's iPhone, and that's the one which is up here pointing across to the preaching chair. Now what I can do, the blue you see is that's our preview. So I can switch from a preview to a live, and that will swap across to there. So now that one is being broadcast, and I've got nothing in my preview. So I could go back and put that in my preview. Now what I'm going to do is, on Pro Presenter, I am going to switch it over to this. So now what I've got is I've got some song slides. Now these are songs from last week, and we just scroll through them like you would normally do. Up in the corner here is our our audience display. So that's what the audience would be seeing on the projector. But at the moment, you can see they're down here. So it's in the preview, not in the broadcast at the moment. So I click on there, it brings it across to the broadcast. Now, one thing I should have shown you is you can just swap between them. If I click on this little one here, it swaps between the, it just swaps them over so that you've always got that other one ready to go again. You can swap it back. Now, a couple of you have asked me the question about how did we get that effect of multiple screens up at the same time, so our worship team as well as the slides running at the same time. And all we did was, if I press on that, I can combine those two. And you get that effect where the stage display, the words are on one side and the video is on the other side. And so that's the easy, simple way that we managed to get that combined worship and words or lyrics up on the screen at the same time. And then if I just wanted to go back to one, not the other, I can just click on that and it goes to it. Now, one of the other things that we can do with it is if I go back to my video rather than my display, I can put an overlay on. So in this case, I've chosen to do a lower third overlay. And I've got two overlays running at the same time. So the first one is just a blue border with me. And then I can add in our church logo there as well. Or I can just leave the church logo in there. Now they're fairly easy to set up. There's also the option of changing the way that it transitions from one slide to the next. So now what we were doing before was just a very quick cut like that. But I can do a cross dissolve. And that will just fade between the two like that. Or I could do a wipe and it wipes it across. So you've got those things. You've got options of split screens and picture where you have your main picture and then you have a smaller one down below. All of those sort of things. Now, one thing that I probably should show you is off to the side here. I don't have a light on it, unfortunately, but that little dongle there, let's see if I can do this. Is that going to help at all? A little bit. That little dongle there allows me to be running a USB back return from the Behringer mixer, and at the same time keeping my the iPad charged. So what I'm doing is, if I go to my audio here, you can see I'm using my USB Lightning audio input, and so I'm taking audio from my mixer into Switcher Studio. Now you don't have to do that. You could choose just to use the microphone on the iPad or your iPhone as your primary source of audio, but because we're using that shotgun mic up there, and I'm running soundtracks in the background, we use it through the mixer. So we've got a number of songs in Pro Presenter which provide us with this bit of background music, just worship songs. So we run that in there. So you'll see that on our daily prayer, and also during our before our service when we're just running announcement slides. We've got background music running, so that's where that's coming from. Now, one of the things that we've started to use is this video chat. Now, the video chat is a little hard to show you without doing a full setup with someone, and I may do a little video about that tomorrow. But I can send an invite to someone, so invite video chat guest. I can send that person an invite through an email or through a message, or if they're in the room, an airdrop. And what I can do with that is then I can set up them as a source, so an external source which can then be running in here. Now, what we found when we tried it was you need to be wearing headphones, otherwise you get a bit of an echo slapping back at you, and it becomes quite difficult to understand if the person on the other end isn't wearing headphones. So just be aware of that. We'll be using that this weekend for our worship. So our worship teams will be remote from my location, but they will be providing worship, live worship for our streaming via that video chat mode. The last thing I want to show you is your outputs. Now, every day we do a morning prayer, just a 10-minute prayer, and we stream live to Facebook. And you can choose, which page you want to send it to. If you've got multiple pages, you can choose to simulcast to a number of different pages at the same time. Or you could go to YouTube or LinkedIn Live, Twitch, or you can do what we've done, which is a custom RTMP. Now, we subscribe to caster.io, and that's another online resource which we can send a feed directly there, and then from there it will broadcast it to multiple different streams for you. So it will do it to YouTube and to Facebook and to your own website if you've got that set up, all at the same time without you having to set that up yourself. It's just a single stream from Switcher Studio to Caster.io, which will then broadcast it to multiple channels for you. So that's another option that you might want to look at. There you have it, our Switcher Studio setup. You don't have to have it as complicated as that. At its most basic, while we were trialing it, we worked with just a single iPhone 6 and a Mac Mini, which provided the lyrics and the presentation slides for us, and that worked perfectly well. You could go more complicated. You can have up to 9 inputs into your Switcher Studio. Totally up to you. I hope that this walkthrough of our setup has sparked a little bit of creativity in your own mind, so that as you work through how is the best way for you to broadcast your services and prayer times and other aspects of your ministry online, I pray that God will guide you and that you will be a blessing to other people.